What is up, YouTube? Back again. Welcome to another video. In today's video, you're going to be watching episode 1 of how to become a pro at Call of Duty, man. And this is something new I kind of wanted to do, and I kind of want to just see where it goes, man. See, if it helps you guys in any way. And I feel like it would be kind of a fun, unique type of series I can do, kind of like every day or every other day, so upload a video. And we'll go over some things like map controlling, streaks, guns, attachments, divisions, basic trainings / perks, whatever the game is, whatever COD we're playing at the time of that video, aiming, recoil, fire rates, time to kills, stats, understanding what stats mean, challenges, game modes, XP time frames, the whole shazam, bro. To just go through everything, and we're gonna kind of break down everything into individual videos. Today's video, we're gonna kind of go through the idea of how to make a class and what you want to focus on while making a class, because I feel like a lot of people, they forget that the classes they make represent how they play. You see a lot of times professional players, they might play with multiple different guns, but for a majority of them, they play with one or two guns, one gun, and that's pretty much what they do. For me, I play with a bunch of guns. And that's how I figure out my playstyle for every gun. So the first thing you want to do is understand your class. So understanding the game in which you're making your class in is a better way of phrasing it. So for example, World War II, I understand World War II that I am allowed one gun primary, one gun secondary, a division, a basic training, a lethal, and a tactical. And I also understand that I'm allowed a minimum of 3 attachments for my primary and 1 attachment for my secondary, or a maximum of 4 attachments on the primary and 2 on the secondary. I think you may be able to get 3. I don't remember on the secondary. I think it's either 2 or 3. I can't really exactly remember off my head. I think there's a basic training that if you combine it with something else, it gives you 3. So getting into it, all right, you want to pick your overall division, right? Because you're going to build your class in World War specifically off of the weapon division you're using. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll say, I'm going to be running and gunning this game. So what you're going to do is you're going to run a running gun division. You're not going to run armored, you're not going to run mountain, you're not going to run expeditionary. Those are not running gun divisions. They're not designed to be. Their benefits are more beneficial to those who are defensive, a little slower pace gameplay, usually snipers, LMG guys, or shotties, and that's kind of what you want to focus on the most for those. Now, airborne and infantry, on the other hand, are very quick classes. You can use them pretty much any category of weapons. You can snipe with infantry, you can snipe with airborne, shoddy with infantry. You can do anything with infantry, right? And airborne. And that's what you kind of want to focus on to understand those differences. Now, resistance and cavalry and commando are very, very different, because cavalry has a shield, commando has that whole power trooper insert, which kind of affects how you play the game, because obviously you're going to have that ability to spawn relatively anywhere you want, as long as you're not shot out of the air and as long as your insert is not destroyed. Resistance is kind of the same thing. You have the whole permanent counter UAV for anyone that's in your radius. I think it's countered by something. I have to do some research. I'm pretty sure something counters it. I think it might be like instincts or something like that. It's something random that counters the permanent counter AV for hostile players, but I could be wrong on that one. I would have to double check. But anyway, you have that counter AV. So once you understand what your class is going to be, so you're running on it. For this example, we're going to use infantry, and for this example, we're also going to use the STG. Basically, I'm going to keep the class, so it's going to be a little bit easier for everyone to either copy the class if they want to, or and so I don't have to dick around with menus. So once you have your division, you want to also focus on your basic training. So like this is going to come down to another video as well, is what do I use depends on what I play style is, because some people will be really good with specialists, some people will be better off with streaks. When I used to play with a team of 6 and specialists first came out, majority of us ran streaks, not a lot of us ran the whole specialist. At the time it wasn't super overpowered like it is now, and now specialist is super meta. I mean, you see any professional player out there in this game, it still plays it consistently anyway. They're most likely gonna be using specialist. I think a lot of snipers nowadays also use a specialist, just because you get the ability to get escalations, hustle, instincts. You get a lot of different perks, forage for sniping. So if you're going for feeds and that, it'll be really, really great to use specialist specifically. So for this class, I know this is my nuke class. When I go for nuke specifically, I use a lot of times specialist, because specialist does happen to help a lot with nuke streaks. I mean, you get every perk in the game, so it makes sense. And for the most part, if you have every perk in the game, you don't really need UAV, because you basically get a UAV in the specialist anyway. There's one perk specifically that like puffs up the radar, makes it bigger, so you basically see like half the map at one time. So you can see a majority of the time, a lot of times when anyone fires in that area, you're gonna know about it. So once you have your basic training down, I mean, this can be any basic training. We'll go through another video what basic trainings are the best, what ones aren't, and what different ones mean. But then you want to focus on your primary and secondaries. So secondaries you can kind of push off to the side, because you can kind of run whatever secondaries in this game. Specifically this game, I know for a fact every secondary is more than capable of carrying you through a kill. I just recently unlocked Chrome on both the revolvers, because I skipped it when I went for 1000 and when I got Chrome Tiger. And you're going to see that those, even the revolvers, can really hold their own against a full auto weapon. It's not, obviously not going to be god tier, but it can hold its own. So any weapon secondary you choose is going to be fine. The only thing I don't recommend not running all the time on all your classes is melees as secondary. I know a lot of people like to run melees. I'm running 1 or 2 melees on into my classes. But don't run them all your classes, because melees are not going to support you if you need to switch weapons mid-firefight at medium to long range. Now, doubt it, not a lot of people do that. For me, for example, I do switch weapons very often in middle of combat, and you'll see in my more recent videos I'm doing it more and more and more, trying to get myself more familiar with it, specifically because of the next COD being, it's going to be focused a lot on switching weapons and rather than reloading from leaks. So it's something to get yourself used to. I think it'll be it's a really good habit to just kind of switch weapons mid gunfight, especially if you're running airborne. Airborne makes it super quick to do that. But yeah, so anything can work for your secondary weapon. That's the point of the whole thing of rambling I just did. It doesn't really matter. The primary on the other side of things does obviously matter, because that's something you're going to be using 99% of your gunfight. One thing I've always recommended for people trying to get good at the game is to use guns outside their comfort zone. If you feel like you're personally really solid in your play style, and you know for a fact that you can hold your own in a gunfight, which honestly you most likely can't. If you're watching a tips and trick video, you most likely can't, and that's okay. But it's a good thing to learn, because you want to be able to play without needing to camp or head glitch or use a shoddy, or lay down with an LMG or hard scope, and it's good to want to grow. So you want to focus on one particular weapon. For this, we'll use STG. Well, I know the STG is one of the best in class when it comes to handling, as well as it is one of the best in the class when it comes to fiery, which is the first time in a long time you've seen an AR, really in any COD recently, in the last 5 to 6 years, that has been extremely fast fire rate. I know there's some ARs in Cold War that fire rates that are pretty relatively quick, but this really has a fast fire rate. It's shooting a fire rate of 8 out of 10 on the scale, which is roughly, you're shooting around 30 rounds. You can get empty a clip in around about 10 seconds or so. I mean, you can empty the clip relatively quick. And compared to the other ARs, it is definitely top of the line when it comes to firing. So with that in mind, now don't always go off the in-game weapon stats, because they're not always accurate. Like this gun says it has a 6 damage, yet this STG can clearly 3-shot you. So it's not very accurate, right? I don't personally like that scaling of damage output. I wish it would just tell you how many bullets it takes to kill, because that would be way more accurate. But with that being said, knowing that the STG has kind of weak range according to the stats, and according to the stats, weaker damage, but has good accuracy and has relatively amazing fire rate compared to, say, most of the ARs, we can now build our class off that. So what we can do is, we know the range is not that great, so we put grip on. Automatically, the grip increases your range by 100%. Right, because now you don't have that recoil. That recoil is way more manageable. Then obviously you want to put quick draw on. That will help you with your just overall handling and speed. your Cinemags, because I think every gun in this game really needs a Cinemags. If you're not running a Cinemags on your gun, there's something wrong with you. This game has terrible weapon ammo capacities literally throughout any COD ever, like period. A lot of the guns in this game have 20, 25, 30 rounds in a clip, right? With Cinemags, you get 45, 50, 70, even 100, depending on the weapon. So with that being said, always running Cinemags, honestly, should just be something you should write down in your notes. Just always running Cinemags, no matter what the gun is. With that being said, the next final attachment you want to run is rapid fire. Because rapid fire, obviously, we know the fire rate's high, so let's increase it. We have no recoil now because we have added grip, and this thing has a relatively decent, not the best range, but with the grip, you can already increase that. So now the rapid fire, you've basically balanced it in a way, right? So once you put that rapid fire on, you're going to see a completely different gun, right? But there's also some other attachments, as you guys may be thinking, and this is kind of where getting into class making gets a little bit confusing, because there's multiple different setups for guns depending on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Yeah, by the way, you can also see, there it is. The rapid fire increases the fire rate past the 10 on the scale, which is impressive because not a lot of things in this game will push you over that. And it's obviously the grip will increase your accuracy. But there's some other things you can do. So you can do, for longer range maps, you could focus grip instead of rapid fire. You can put advanced rifling on, which will help that range, obviously. You can run ACOGs, red dots, high caliber. Most times you're not going to be running high caliber unless you're going for headshots. That's just plain and simple. It's literally in the name. It increases headshot damage, and it just makes sense, right? Not gonna run that often. FMJ in this game is literally the worst thing ever. Like, it's trash. Don't even bother running it. A lot of people will say FMJ is great. It is not. It is not. Unless you're sniping in this game with FMJ is great. But the ARs, it doesn't truly feel any better, because you can still shoot people within 2 to 3 bullets through a wall, even without FMJ. And you may kill them in 1 bullet quicker, which doesn't really make any difference in a gunfight when they're behind a wall anyway. So it doesn't really bother me personally. You can run it. It would be a waste of a slot. Steady aim. If you're going for hip fires for whatever reason, no camo challenge requires a hip fire, but if you're going for them for any reason, steady aim is going to be your man's. That's great. Same thing for if you're using pistols. Like, I was using steady aim on my pistols when I had them dual wield, because it makes them just completely dangerous to be fighting against. Again, lens sight, one of the ones like FMJ, don't run it. It's just lens sight is nowhere near as good as a red dot or an ACOG. And it's nowhere near as good as a iron sight. The iron sights in this game, for most of the weapons, are fine. You can do extremely well with iron sights. I've mostly run iron sights on most of my guns, to be honest. And then, of course, you got your rifle grenade. If you want to be a noob tuber, you can. So with that being said, now you kind of understand that there's different attachments have different reasonings for being there, right? So you're not going to be running a high caliber if you're not going for headshots. You're not going to be running a bayonet for long shots, right? And that's kind of the idea, right? Is to build your class upon what you're going to be using. And I see a lot of people running bayonet recently. Bayonet has been increasing recently. I don't know why. It has no reasoning to be there. You want to build your class off something you're being comfortable with. So for me, being comfortable means being able to fire fast, put a lot of rounds down range as quick as possible, as well as being able to shoot far enough that I can shoot you without you even seeing where I am. That's the idea. That's the theory, right? I want enough rounds enough rounds going as fast enough as far as possible. That's the idea, right? Because if you're sitting on, for example, Rustin House, and you want to stay on a streak, and you want to be defensive. For this example, we'll use defensive as an example. And you're defending, I think it's C. We'll go with C. And you're coming. You want to make sure that you can hold off C from a range, because you know that PPSH is not going to be able to take down an STG at range. That PPSH, if it gets close to you, is going to take you down, especially with rapid fire, right? I mean, they have literally a drum that's like, I think it's 50 rounds or 45 rounds on the drum. So they have a lot of bullets coming at you very quickly, right? So your theory is to make your STG shoot as far, as fast, and as long as possible, right? Because what that does entail is it holds your enemy players back. It forces them, their hand, to switch weapons, something they may not be comfortable doing. They may not be comfortable comfortable switching into an STG. They may not be comfortable sniping or using an LMG. They may be only comfortable with a shotty or a pistol or melee or whatever it be. So that's something you have to keep in mind when you're building your classes. Don't build a class with fucking a bayonet, fucking ACOG, and steady aim and high cal, like, right? You know what I'm saying? Don't build something that's weird. I mean, unless you're going for a specific reason. So, like, I know some people like to do the messed up classes, right? And that's fine. But don't run classes that inhibit the way you can play the game, right? If you're going for streaks, don't play that way. Same thing for the pistols. You really don't need to run anything on pistols except for quick draw and advanced rifling. Just for the chambered round pistols, for the magazine pistols, so the 1911, the machine gun pistol, and the PO8, and the 9mm. You might want to run extended mags and quick draw. So I usually run. Again, you can run a tactical knife, but being cautious of running the tactical knife, knowing that that is meant. That means that you're focusing specifically on melee combat and pistol combat. I see a lot of people like to run, a tactical knife pistol on shipment. And that's a great theory, right? Because it works well on there. But don't run a tactical knife on a pistol on Ardene's Forest or Gust of Cannon or any other big map, right? Because it doesn't work. It's not meant to work, right? Because this, I mean, I think people are going to take this video as in that these playstyles don't work at all, and that's kind of what I want to kind of nip right here. It's not that they don't work; it's more they won't get you as positive, right? Because the series is all about getting you better and making you more comfortable in gunfights, to want to make you leave your spawn and not sitting it for the entire game, right? And that's what this point of this series is kind of getting you more comfortable and to push yourself to try new things. So, for example, find a gun that you're good with, like an STG, an MP40, a PPSH, and stick with it for a while. Do. I personally think the better the player, the more guns that they should be able to master. So, for example, for me, I think I'm a relatively amazing player, quite frankly, because I've mastered every gun there is. Like, there's not one gun in this game that I pick up and I can't go slightly positive with it. I mean, I doubted myself with the pistols, right? I doubted myself with the revolvers, and I was dropping 60, 70, even 80 to 100 kill gameplays with the pistols, right? So it is possible to master something, right? But I think for the newer players, if you're coming up and you're grinding for ranks, use something you're comfortable with until at least master prestige. Give yourself 10 prestiges to get mastered with like 1 or 2 guns. I'd say master a pistol, master a sniper, master a SMG, and master an AR. You're solid. Then you're solid for classes, right? And then kind of build off that and continue to grow off that. But with that being said, that's pretty much the gist of it, man. That's really how to make a class. Break it down into sections. Start from the left, go down, go right, and go up, right? And your tacticals and lethals, that's really just based off your playstyle. I mean, if you're someone who likes to throw explosives, go for explosives. If you're someone that likes to throw stuns, throw stuns. If you're someone that likes to throw C4s, throw them. But that's kind of the gist of it. You know, and that's the thing, right? Is don't be afraid to try new things, right? I mean, get good with a gun. If you feel like you want to try something new, try something new. With that being said, I do plan to make more of these. I'll probably record maybe another 2 or 3 of these tonight, and I'll probably be live streaming. So if you have more questions, kind of my Twitch, xLSxgaming, I'll probably be live. I don't know. I'm trying to get the squad on. If the squad doesn't get on, then I'll probably play some solo stuff like gun game and cousin game stuff. I don't know. But come on, ask some questions, and we'll talk about it more there. And just really get comfortable with your classes. Mess with the classes. Do what I do. I make a bunch of random classes sometimes. Especially when I'm messing with classes, I'll go into like firing range, and I'll mess with them here, as you can see. And just continue to mess around with it, get used to it, and tell me how this works. This video helped you guys in the comments, as I'm very interested to see if this actually helped anyone, because class setups can be very taunting when you're coming in from Call of Duty for the first time. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Becoming a Pro at Call of Duty.